All right. The basic subway fare in the Seoul metropolitan area is poised to rise 12% starting this Saturday to 1,400 won from the current 1,250 won, according to the capital city's municipal government.
서울 등 수도권에서 운행하는 지하철 기본요금이 오는 토요일부터 현행 1,250원에서 12% 오른 1,400원으로 인상하게 된다고 서울시가 밝혔습니다.
Yeah. Everything's
getting more
up.
expensive.
Yes,
yeah.
right. So I'm assuming this has to do with, of course, rising oil prices. And we have been hearing that they have had financial trouble, or Seoul Metro has had financial trouble for some time. But it looks like the prices will go up.
Yeah.
So the basic subway fare is the charge to adult holders of a transport card traveling up to 10 kilometers on a single ride, and they add an additional 100 won for each 5 kilometers of travel. And it will be the first hike in 8 years. So they haven't raised prices since June of 2015. And along with the price hike for adult fares, there will also be a price hike for children's fares as well. This will be the first time in 16 years that they are raising prices for children's fares. So for, students ages 13 to 18, it used to be 721, but that will increase to 800 won. And for kids from 6 to 12, the fare was 450 won, but it will go up to 500 won.
네. 6살에서 12살이면은 초등학생 나이라고 보면 되겠죠. 네, 어린이 요금 같은 경우는 450원에서 500원으로, 또 청소년 요금은 720원에서 800원으로, 성인 요금은 이제 그 교통카드 싱글 페어 트랜sit 카드 기준으로 했을 때 기본 요금이 1,400원으로 오른다라는 얘기가 되겠습니다.
Yeah.
네. 대체적으로 지금 8년 만에 처음 오르는 교통비가 되겠고요. 어린이 요금은 16년 만이라 그랬나요?
Yeah, 16 years. Wow. It's an 11.1% hike.
And some people say it should have happened earlier.
Yeah.
You know, it's been in the making for a long time. And others say, well, you know, everything is just
Going
getting
up. Yeah.
Yeah, more expensive.
So it will be, I guess, more of a burden. But we did hear that they will have the unlimited passes. So maybe for people who do travel a lot, that might be a little bit more helpful. But yeah, everything is going up.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we have to look at it from both sides. From the commuter's point of view, it's going up. From the people who work in the subway system, and a lot of people do, of course, it probably should have been hiked earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at the expressions.
Okay,
Be
so
poised to.
yes, be poised to. So that basically means that they are ready to take action at any moment. They're prepared to do something. They're waiting to do something. So Seoul Metro is poised to raise hikes starting this Saturday. So it means they are ready to raise prices starting this Saturday. So for example, the company is poised to launch a new advertising campaign. So that means that they are ready to launch their new advertising campaign.
They are ready. 네, 뭐뭐 할 준비가 되다. Be poised to do something. P-O-I-S-E-D.
Right.
The next expression. No, go on.
Oh, sorry.
Please,
Well, I mean,
please.
it's a little different when you say someone is poised, though, right?
yeah.
Because when we say someone, oh, you know, she's very poised, we use that when they're very graceful. I like to think of a ballerina. We usually describe them as very poised. They're graceful. They're composed, self-assured. So that's it's the same word, but very different way of using it.
It has good composure, for example, and as you said, it's very composed. Someone is poised 하는 거랑 something is poised to do something 하는 거랑 의미 차이가 있네요. 그래서 보통은 굉장히 뭔가 이렇게 정돈된 느낌의 우아하고 자세도 좋고 이런 발레리나 같은 느낌의 사람한테 she or he is poised 라고 할 수 있고요. 그것과는 좀 별개로 뭐뭐 할 준비가 됐다. Be poised to do A 이렇게 얘기할 수 있습니다.
Right.
What's the next expression?
Okay, the next one is current. So we talked about, the prices are currently, or the current 1,251. So it means it belongs to the current time, or something that's happening or being used or done now.
The current time is 8:14 and 7 seconds. 현재 뭐뭐뭐. The current 무엇 이렇게 얘기하죠. Well, here's the headline one more time. The basic subway fare in the Seoul metropolitan area is poised to rise 12% starting this Saturday to 1,400 won from the current 1,250 won, according to the capital city's municipal government.
The Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine has been awarded to professors Katalin Kariko and Drew Weissman, who developed the technology that led to the mRNA COVID vaccines.
올해 노벨 생리의학상은 코로나19 메신저 리보 핵산 mRNA 백신 개발에 기여한 커털린 커리코 교수와 드루 와이즈먼 교수에게 돌아갔습니다. All right, so this whole week and more than that, every single day, we're going to be hearing who won this year's Nobel Prizes. And so far, we have a few winners that have been announced. Tell us more about this.
Okay, so this mRNA technology, we heard so much about it during COVID. A lot of people have probably received this mRNA vaccine, but it was very experimental before the pandemic, but now it's been used by millions around the world.
Yeah.
So mRNA technology, while it was experimental, after going through COVID, it's now being researched for even other diseases, including cancer. So traditional vaccine technology, as we know, it's based on dead or weakened versions of the original virus that's entered into our body. And, that's why, when we get the flu shot, we get sick. It's because that virus is entered into our body.
Yeah.
But the mRNA vaccines, it uses a completely different approach. Should I explain this approach?
If you can, please.
Oh, it's very difficult. I was
Okay.
trying to understand it myself.
Yeah.
But what they say is, so it contains the genetic instructions for building one component. It's a protein, for example, from the coronavirus. So they take that protein and it's injected into the body, and then our cells start producing lots of that viral protein. So
Before you go on, I think we have an image that we could show on our 보이는
that
라디오.
would be so much better.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
as you explain, our
Okay.
listeners can look at the 보이는 라디오 and follow along. So
Okay.
tell us, please do go on.
All right. So when that protein, like I mentioned, it's a part of that coronavirus. It's injected into our body, and then our cells start producing lots of this viral protein, and then our immune system recognizes these as foreign, so it starts attacking them, and then it's learned how to fight the virus. So
Right.
it kind of has that head start with when future infections occur. So the big idea behind this technology is that you can rapidly develop a vaccine against almost anything. That's why, they're trying to develop vaccines that can fight cancer. They're injecting the cancer into our bodies to help our bodies to fight its own cancer.
Antibodies are created, as we know. 항체가 만들어지는 과정이고, 그다음에 굉장히 의학적이고 전문적이기 때문에.
Yes, it's very difficult.
very hard for me to
I have an
translate.
idea of what
Yeah.
goes on, but really, who knows what goes on?
네. 그래서 이거 mRNA 백신을 개발한 카틀린 카리코 교수 그리고 드루 와이즈먼 교수에게 생리의학상이 돌아갔습니다. 이 노벨상이 여러 가지가 있잖아요. 지금 일단은 발표가 된 게 Physiology or Medicine 이 카테고리 이름이 아예 이렇습니다. Physiology or Medicine 둘 중에 하나의 전문가가 항상 이 상을 받는데요. 우리말로는 생리의학상. 뿐만 아니라 물리학상도 수상자가 발표가 됐습니다. 피에르 오거스티니, 프랭크 크라우스, 앤 르웰리에 발표가 됐고 이제 앞으로는 화학상, 문학상, 평화상 그리고 경제상, 노벨상이 이렇게 발표가 될 예정이죠. Let's look at the expressions.
Okay. It's the Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine.
Yeah.
So physiology, it's similar to medicine. It's
Yeah.
a scientific study of functions and mechanisms in a living system like our system. It's the study of life, specifically how cells, tissues, and organisms function.
네, 생리학 이 physiology고요. 그 다음에 이제 medicine은 의학이죠. 그래서 physiology or medicine 이 분야를 우리는 하나로 생리의학상이라고 부른다는 것. 자, 그 다음에 that led to something.
Right, that led to. So lead to, it means to result in something or to bring about something. So for example, it was an accident that led to the astonishing discovery.
Right. 뭐로 이어지게 한 것이다. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. The Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine has been awarded to professors Kathleen Carrico and Drew Wiseman, who developed the technology that led to the mRNA COVID vaccines.
Jeju residents have expressed discontent and discomfort over the amount of trash left by holidaymakers during the 6-day extended break amid increasing calls to protect the island's natural environment.
제주의 자연 환경을 보호해야 한다는 목소리가 높아지는 가운데 길어진 추석 연휴 동안 행락객들이 버리고 간 쓰레기가 마구 쌓이면서 제주도민들이 아쉬움과 불편함을 토로했습니다. 아, 그래요. 추석부터 시작해서 개천절까지 네, 좀 길었던 이번 연휴 기간 동안에 이제 여행하신 분들 참 많으세요.
Yeah.
And that's fine. However, 우리가 머물다 간 곳은 좀 이렇게 깨끗하게 정리하고 가야 되지 않겠어요?
Right.
What happened?
Right. So, we talked about plucking or plucking.
Plugging.
Plugging.
Yes.
Yes. It looks like plucking. Plugging. So, going on that run,
Yeah.
jogging, and then picking up trash at the same time. So maybe that's something that we all need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Picking up after ourselves.
그러니까요.
Going out, enjoying the nature, enjoying the beautiful scenery. It's nice to have that cup of coffee, right?
그러니까요.
But take that with you so
Yeah.
others can enjoy the nature as well.
I mean, it seems like common sense,
Yeah.
and yet so many people, for some reason, didn't, take their trash with you. They didn't do it.
And I also think we should take a moment to appreciate those who do clean up.
Yeah.
The people that clean up the all the mess, all the trash, because they were on break as well, which is
Yeah.
why everything probably piled up during the long holiday. So that's basically what happened. The beautiful tourist areas of Jeju, they were seen just strewn with trash after the extended holiday. They said these, coffee, the not tumbler cups, the coffee cups, paper cups, lots of cigarette butts. They were just thrown everywhere from these neighboring cafes. And the locals say that, it's cleaner when people are watching, but when people aren't watching, people just throw stuff everywhere. And with the locals, it's probably not as bad because they live there. But when you're tourists, I guess you kind of forget and you think, I'm leaving. So you just leave stuff behind.
앞으로는 어디 이제 놀러 가거나 그럴 때 반드시 쓰레기 봉투 대용으로 쓸만한 거를 꼭 좀 챙겨가서
Yeah, that's a great idea.
내 쓰레기는 내가 챙긴다 이런 마인드를 가지면 더욱더 아름다운 그런 여행과 추억이 되지 않겠어요? 자, 표현 보겠습니다. Discontent and discomfort.
Okay, so discontent and discomfort, they are two words. Discontent is the lack of contentment. So it's dissatisfaction that you feel with your current circumstances. Discomfort is uneasiness or annoyance or distress that you feel. It can be mental or it can also be physical.
Yes, discontent and discomfort. 불만과 또 불편이죠. What about holidaymakers?
Holidaymakers, it's one word. People on holiday or a person on vacation that's away from home. You can also use the word vacationer. So for example, they started renting out their seaside home to holidaymakers.
아하, 여행객, 휴가객 아니면 행락객을 holidaymaker라고 한 단어로 이렇게 표현을 합니다. 자, 다시 한번 읽어볼게요. Jeju residents have expressed discontent and discomfort over the amount of trash left by holidaymakers during the 6-day extended break amid increasing calls to protect the island's natural environment.
After a wait of more than 140 years, 5 central towers of Barcelona's famous Sagrada Familia Basilica have been finished, with the 6th and final tower expected to be ready in 2026.
140년이 넘는 공사 끝에 스페인 바르셀로나의 유명한 성가정 성당의 5개 중앙탑이 완공됐습니다. 마지막 남은 6번째 탑은 오는 2026년 완공을 앞두고 있습니다. All right, so you've been here, haven't you,
Yes,
Karen?
this is an exciting story for me
Yeah.
because I visited a long time ago, actually exactly 10 years ago, because I remember it was right after summer in 2013.
Okay.
And when I visited Barcelona and when I saw some of Gaudi's architectural works, I
Yeah.
remember just being mesmerized. You know, when you look from outside and then when you go inside the Sagrada Familia, it's completely different.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
I
you
haven't
go
had the
in.
fortune of going yet, but yeah.
You go in and you think, I was thinking, am I in, it was like, it felt like an outer space experience,
Really?
honestly. It was just so
Wow.
beautiful, so different. It was something that, I don't know, it was something I just could not imagine a cathedral would look like.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
well-
it was a beautiful experience.
Gaudi would be very happy to see that it's almost completed
Almost completed.
now.
So it took such a long time because from what I heard, they are collecting, from donations that people make when they come visit the cathedral and other patrons. So that's why it's taking such a long time. So when I visited, they said that it would take another 10 years to finish. So I remember thinking, maybe we should make another visit when it's about done. So I guess I'll have to wait until 2026.
그러니까요. 2026년에 이제 마지막 남은 탑이 완공된다고 하는데 2026년이 가우디가 사망한 지 100년 되는 해거든요. 1926년에 사망했기 때문에 그래서 좀 의미가 있을 것 같고요.
Yes.
하늘에서 지켜보고 있지 않을까
Yeah.
싶네요. 자, 표현 보겠습니다. Basilica.
Yes. Oh, so basilica, it's basically a church or a cathedral, but they say that in the Roman Catholic religion, they use this word for any church that's named highly important by the Pope based on its historical or cultural importance, its art or beauty. So I think the Sagrada Familia fits that description very well.
우리말로는 이제 성가정 성당이라고 하죠. 이 바실리카를. 그런데 이제 보통 천주교에서 얘기하는 그런 교회나 회관, 아주 의미가 있는 그런 장소를 바실리카라고 부른다라는 설명이었고요. 그 다음에 expected to be ready.
Yes, so expected to be ready means it's something is prepared, but when it's expected to be ready, it's regarded as likely or anticipated. So, we're not sure,
Yeah.
but we think that it will be ready.
아하. So give us an example sentence.
Okay, so our new house is expected to be ready by June next year.
언제 완성될 것으로 기대된다. Expected to be ready. Here it is one more time. After a wait of more than 140 years, 5 central towers of Barcelona's famous Sagrada Familia Basilica have been finished, with the 6th and final tower expected to be ready in 2026.
A 104-year-old woman has become the oldest person in the world to tandem skydive out of an airplane, topping the world record of 103 years old, which was set in Sweden last year.
미국의 104세 할머니가 전문가와 함께 2인조 스카이다이빙에 성공했습니다. 이로써 작년에 스웨덴에서 세운 103세 기록을 깨고 세계 최고령 스카이다이버로 등극했습니다. Wow, 104.
Yes.
And this was her first time, right?
It was actually her second time.
Oh, okay. Close to her first time,
Yes,
then, I
yes,
see.
but still amazing. So her name is Dorothy Hoffner, and she says age is just a number.
Right. Of course.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's her second skydive, and it's waiting to be listed on the Guinness World Records.
I see.
And she jumped from 4,115 meters in the air, and it took her 7 minutes to land. And she said she attempted her first skydive at the age of 100. So that's, it's something that came later in life. And the current record holder, as we mentioned, is another 103-year-old grandmother, and she set it in May last year. So she just broke that record.
Wow. Well, she just goes to show that it's never too late to start something new.
Yeah.
100세에 처음으로 이렇게 스카이다이빙을 해봤고 이번에 두 번째로 해본 건데요. 104세가 돼서 했기 때문에 세계 최고령 스카이다이버가 됐다고 합니다. Let's look at this expression. tandem skydive.
Right, tandem skydive. So tandem, it means to, when we say in tandem, it means you're alongside each other or together or one behind another. So tandem skydive is when you're not doing it by yourself, when you're connected with another person and two people jump out of an airplane together.
Just like a tandem bike.
Yes, when two bikes are connected.
Yeah, 맞아요. 그 2인 자전거 그런 거를 영어로는 tandem bicycle, tandem bike라고 얘기하는데요. 그런 식으로 tandem 뭐뭐뭐 하면은 이제 앞뒤로 나란히 하는 뭐 같이 한다라는 의미가 있어서 여기서도 스카이다이빙을 104세 할머니 혼자 하신 건 아니고 예, 전문가와 함께 이렇게 나란히 예, 하셨습니다. 안전하게.
Still, I mean, it's still.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
그 다음에 여기서 top라는 동사가 나와요.
Yes, it's a verb, and we usually say it as topping. So it means to top, and it means to be at the highest place or rank on a list or a poll or a chart. So, for example, we talk about like the Billboard chart or music charts. So the idol group's new song was a hit, topping all domestic music charts.
이렇게 어떤 차트에서 1위를 하다라는 뜻으로 top이라는 동사를 쓸 수 있는 거죠. 네, 여기서도 마찬가지. She has topped the previous record. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. A 104-year-old woman has become the oldest person in the world to tandem skydive out of an airplane, topping the world record of 103 years old, which was set in Sweden last year. And that's it for our headlines.
The U.S. House of Representatives has removed Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy from his role as House Speaker, marking the first time in the country's history that the second government officer in the presidential line of succession has been ousted.
미국 하원이 공화당 소속 케빈 마카시 의원을 하원 의장직에서 해임했습니다. 미국 권력 서열 3위인 하원 의장이 해임된 것은 미국 역사상 처음 있는 일입니다. Now, it can be a bit confusing for our listeners because in Korean it says 서열 3위, so we have the number 3 there. And in English it says that the House Speaker is the second in line to the presidency. So could you explain to us who's at the top and, why we have this discrepancy? And I can
would
add.
assume the discrepancy is because they're counting the president as
exactly.
one, where the president's in that role. So who is first in line behind the president would be the vice president, and then the House Speaker would be second in line.
Exactly. I think it's just a different way of looking at it. Whereas in English, we're saying in line of succession, so after the president, it's number 2.
And you'll see this usually in monarchies.
Yeah.
So, William is first in line to the British throne. Harry would be second in line, or would have been.
No. It's William's son.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, you know more about that stuff than I do.
Yes, Harry's been pushed back. It's his nephews that come before him now. 그래서 이제 second in line 이 표현 we're going to look at it in a short while. 근데 일단은 이제 number 2하고 number 3의 discrepancy가 나타나는 이유는요. 우리는 그냥 number 1, number 2, number 3 이렇게 서열만 얘기하고 있기 때문에 president, vice president, 그다음에 house speaker 이 순서대로 봤을 때 하원 의장이 서열 3위이지만 영어에서는요. 대통령 다음으로 계승을 하게 될 순위별로 보는 겁니다. 그래서 대통령에게 무슨 일이 갑자기 생긴다면은 다음으로 대통령이 될 계승을 할 1인 그 1위인 서열 1위인 사람이 바로 부통령이 되겠고 그다음에 서열 2위가 하원 의장이다. So there we have the little difference in how we describe the House Speaker. So tell us what's going on.
Well, yeah, McCarthy's been removed as leader. It's the first time it's ever happened, and 8 Republicans actually voted to have him removed.
And he's a Republican.
And he's a Republican. Yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he has a ton of friends. There's a lot of infighting in the Republican Party. The rebellion was led by Matt Gaetz. He's a far-right Republican from Florida. He called Kevin McCarthy a creature of the swamp, which they refer to Washington as the swamp a lot because of politics, dirty politics.
Yeah.
And he said that McCarthy's he rose to power by collecting special interest money and then redistributing that money in exchange for favors.
Wow. he was ousted by people in his own party.
And all the Democrats.
Of course,
so,
yes.
The House is going to be leaderless for a little while. Republicans say they plan to meet on October 10th to discuss a successor with a vote to be to take place on the 11th next week.
한 번도 이렇게 하원 의장이 해임된 적이 없는데요. 하원 의원들 중에서도 Democrats, 민주당 의원은 뭐 당연히 이제 아우스팅 하는 데에 찬성표를 던졌지만 지금 보니까 같은 당원인 Republican, 공화당원들 중에서도 아우스테라라고 이렇게 찬성표를 던진 의원들이 꽤 있네요. Alright, well let's have a look at the expressions. The first one is someone's role.
That's your job, your position. So a lot of times we'll talk about, at a company, you need to understand your role or roles. Sometimes people have more than one role.
Yeah.
And then your responsibilities, your role and responsibilities at a company.
You have more than one role,
I
would
guess
assume.
you could
have
say.
the role here at your workspace, but also at home you have a different role. And
Sure.
at different places you would have different roles.
Right, and then with each role comes responsibilities, comes the tasks that you need to perform for that role.
네, 역할, role이죠. R-O-L-E. Could you give us an example sentence?
Sure. So maybe her role at the company changed dramatically after the merger. Things like that can happen.
네, 회사가 합병한 이후에 그녀의 회사 내 역할이 많이 달라졌다. Now the next expression is line of succession.
Yeah, I think you explained that pretty thoroughly before. It's a ordered list and
Yeah.
it's names of people, who it will be. And this is who will take over a position. It's, a position of power or
Right.
a position of leadership. So within a government, a monarchy, or a big company as well. There's
Yeah.
a famous American TV show called Succession that's all about a family and who will take over this huge conglomerate.
아, 그래요. 이제 대기업도 그럴 수 있죠. 이제 맨 위에 있는 회장님이 만약에 무슨 일이 생겼다. 그러면은 그 다음으로 그 자리에 올라갈 계승을 하게 될 사람이 누구냐. 이런 얘기를 우리가 회사에서도 할 수 있고 영국 같은 경우에는 Royal Family에서 이제 여왕 다음에 Queen Elizabeth 다음에 이제 King Charles가 지금 또 He was first in line to
Yep.
the throne. 그래서 왕이 됐죠. 그러고 나서 그 다음에 이제 윌리엄, 이어서 루이 등등등이 될 텐데 이제 대통령도 마찬가지입니다. 미국에서 만약에 바이든 대통령에게 무슨 일이 생긴다든지 아니면 뭐 갑자기 중간에 안 해 이랬을 때는 바로 이제 카멀라 해리스. 근데 카멀라 해리스한테도 무슨 일이 생긴다. 그러면 이제 원래는 맥카시였어요. 하원 의장. But not anymore.
Just goes from bad to worse when you're listing those people.
자, 오케이. 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. The U.S. House of Representatives has removed Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy from his role as House Speaker, marking the first time in the country's history that the second government officer in the presidential line of succession has been ousted.
A study has suggested that hot flashes, especially during sleep, may foreshadow Alzheimer's disease.
갑작스러운 피부 열감을 일컫는 안면 홍조 현상, 그중에서도 특히 야간에 나타나는 안면 홍조가 알츠하이머 치매의 전조 증상일 수 있다는 연구 결과가 나왔습니다. Oh dear. All right, so tell us about this study then.
Right. So this study came out of the University of Pittsburgh, and it suggests that the more hot flashes that a woman experiences during sleep. So we didn't mention this in the headline. Perhaps we should have. This is to do with women,
yeah.
right? To be more specific. If they experience more hot flashes during sleep when they're going through menopause, they believe that they have a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, which is the most common type of dementia.
Menopause는 폐경이 되겠습니다. 그래서 이 폐경기에 a couple of weeks ago we looked at a story dealing with perimenopause, I think it was. 그래서 그 갱년기 관련된 기사를 저희가 몇 주 전에 같이 살펴보기도 했었죠. And one of the common symptoms is actually hot flashes
Right.
during the day.
Yeah, that's right.
갑자기 이렇게 얼굴이 화끈거리면서 열감이 나타나는 게 좀 흔한 증상이긴 하지만 if you're experiencing during your sleep, 자고 있을 때 갑자기 이렇게 얼굴이 안면 홍조가 나타나고 화끈화끈 거린다. 그게 좀 자주 일어나면 it could be a sign that something else is coming along, maybe Alzheimer's. Who knows?
That's what they're saying. The study author said that the best way to overcome this, or to at least try to combat this, is, and this is not going to be shocking at all.
Right.
Adequate sleep, diet, physical activity, moderating alcohol use, and a big one was treatment of high blood pressure or diabetes, and also taking care of mental health conditions. So trying to be as healthy as possible. If you're experiencing this, like the study author said, it should be any woman who experiences hot flashes at night, it should be a wake-up call. And no pun intended, I don't imagine.
Exactly. A wake-up call 그러면은 이제 경종을 울리는 정말 이제 진짜 이제부터 내가 뭔가 해야겠다 하는 그런 알람 같은 느낌으로 보시면 되겠습니다. Okay, so what is a hot flash once again?
As you mentioned there, it's like a sudden flare-up of heat, and you might sweat or have flushed skin. When I hear this term, I think of the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. Do you know that movie?
Yes, yeah.
So in like one of the first scenes where Robin Williams first dresses up as Mrs. Doubtfire, he goes to his kid's house and he's cooking dinner, and the suit that he's wearing catches on fire, and then he puts it out with two pot lids, and he says, my first day as a woman and I'm already getting hot flashes. And I remember when I was a kid, I didn't understand it, but my mom was laughing at that, and I was like, what does that mean? What are hot flashes? So that's how I learned what this means.
I should go and watch that movie again.
Yeah.
Because I was a kid when I watched it as well.
Right. There's a lot of jokes in that go over kids' heads. They're meant to go over kids' heads.
그러네요. I miss Robin Williams. 근데 Mrs. Doubtfire 보면은 이제 여장을 한 아빠가 등장을 하죠. 그래서 거기서 얘기하는 게 내가 여자로 보내는 첫날에 벌써부터 얼굴 화끈거리네 라는 이제 유머, 태그라인 같은 게 있답니다. 자, hot flash가 바로 그런 피부의 열감이 되겠고요. What about foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing is a you can look at it as a warning or a sign of something else to come. A lot of times we talk about it's in stories, right? In literary or in movies, literature and movies. A lot of times, like what happens in the opening scene will foreshadow what happens at the end or what happens later on in the movie.
Yeah, it's almost like seeing the shadow before you actually know someone's there. But because you see the shadow, you think, okay, someone's coming.
Right. The movie that I can think of that does this very obviously is Fight Club, which is one of my favorite movies. I just watched it like last week again.
Okay.
The opening scene, you see Edward Norton and the female character together in this building, and then that's the same scene right at the end. So you see them together and at the very beginning, but then the whole movie happens, and then at the very end, you understand why they're there.
그렇군요. Foreshadow. If you break it down, 끊어서 보면은 fore는 앞서서, 먼저, shadow는 그림자죠. 그러니까 뭔가 그림자가 보이면 누가 뒤에 있나 보다? 누가 오나 보다? 이게 우리가 이제 딱 예상이 되잖아요. 그런 것처럼 무언가의 조짐이 나타나거나 전조 증상이 있을 때 foreshadowing 한다라고 얘기를 할 수 있습니다. 그래서 안면 홍조가 나타난다라는 게 잘 때 만약에 그렇다 그러면 it could be a sign of Alzheimer's. 알츠하이머 치매의 전조 증상일 수도 있다. 그런 얘기가 되겠네요. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. A study has suggested that hot flashes, especially during sleep, may foreshadow Alzheimer's disease.
The number of patients with depression in Korea has increased by more than 30% over the past 5 years, surpassing the milestone of 1 million for the first time in 2022, according to data.
우리나라 우울증 환자 수가 지난 5년간 30% 이상 증가해 작년에 역대 처음으로 100만 명을 넘어선 것으로 나타났습니다. Okay, so let's have a brief look at this. Break it down for us.
Well, according to data from the National Health Insurance Services, the number of patients treated for depression has actually increased every year since 2018. In terms of gender, the number of women treated for depression is more than double the number for men. It's about 67% of the patients are women.
Yeah.
By age, the largest number of patients were in their 20s. And it's just over 18%. So if we consider both gender and age, the group that's most vulnerable for depression is women in their 20s. This was about 12% of the total. And this group also saw the steepest increase in depression patients over the last 5 years. It's actually increased 110%.
와우. 지난 5년간의 데이터를 놓고 봤을 때 특히 20대 여성 같은 경우가 정말 많이 늘었다. 우울증 환자가요. 이렇게 볼 수 있습니다. But I think when we have stories about depression, especially stats about depression, we have to take it with a pinch of salt because if we think back 100 years, 200 years ago, there was no mentioning of depression or, going to get help from a psychiatrist or medical help, simply because the concept and the idea and the medical facilities were not there. So sometimes I think it's not necessarily that there are more depressed people, although I'm sure that's true as well. It's not just that. I think now we just have more awareness of it.
Right, there's more diagnosis.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
Right.
So, there could be still a lot of people out there who are depressed but never go and see a doctor or are not diagnosed.
Yeah, and also like let's be honest, mental health conditions and talking about depression and mental health and openly saying you talk to therapists was a bit more open in the West for a while.
Sure.
Not so much.
It was quite taboo, actually.
In Korea. So could it be that now people are accepting it, or it's considered a bit more socially acceptable to seek help? So could it be because of that as well?
I think that's a fair
another
evaluation.
reason that we might take these figures with a pinch of salt, as you said.
Exactly. Take something with a pinch of salt라고 하면은요. 이것을 그냥 이 데이터상의 숫자상의 뉴스 그대로 받아들이기보다는 조금 더 넓게 해석을 해라라는 뜻이 되겠는데요. 이렇게 우울증 환자 수가 계속 늘고 있다라는 데이터는 분명히 있습니다. 그리고 분석을 해서 성별별로, 나이별로 다 있기는 합니다만 진짜 우울증에 걸린 환자가 많아진 것인지 우울증 진단을 받는 사람들이 많아진 것인지 이런 것도 이제 다시 한번 분석을 해볼 필요는 있을 것 같고요. 자, 그런 점을 감안하면서 표현 보겠습니다. Let's have a look at the first expression, to surpass.
Surpass means to exceed something. So a lot of times we'll talk about, exceeding expectations or surpassing expectations, meaning you didn't expect something to be as good. Most people didn't. It was better. So a lot of times that'll be, for example, the success of a movie or an album, a song, even like an athlete's performance, a team's performance could surpass expectations.
surpass. 뛰어넘다, 능가하다. And milestone.
A milestone is a important event or an accomplishment. It kind of just marks progression.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times milestones are those big round numbers, right? So, and this is true on the weekend. Son Heung-min, he scored his 200th goal in Europe.
Wow.
So that's a milestone.
Yes.
He reached that milestone of, even though 199 goals is also a big accomplishment, when it's those big round numbers, we usually point to those as milestones, a 20th anniversary, wedding anniversary, a 50th birthday, or when a company reaches a 100th anniversary, or a couple years ago, Morning Special,
We had our
the 30th,
25th anniversary.
Right,
Yeah.
so a big number like that.
맞아요. 자, 그래서 어떤 중요한 단계 를 우리가 보통은 milestone이라고 얘기할 수 있습니다. 아기 때부터 생각하면 아기가 처음 말을 하는 것도 milestone이고 처음 발을 떼서 이제 걸을 때도 이것도 하나의 milestone이 될 수 있고요. 아까 손흥민 선수 같은 경우에는 200번째 거울을 유럽에서 이제 슛했다. 이것도 큰 milestone이라고 볼 수 있겠죠. But this time we're looking at a bit of a negative milestone when it comes to cases of depression.
Right.
Yeah.
It surpassed that 1 million number. And obviously 1 million is a big round number, so that's why they've pointed this number out.
네. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. The number of patients with depression in Korea has increased by more than 30% over the past 5 years, surpassing the milestone of 1 million for the first time in 2022, according to data.
India has informed Canada that it must recall 41 diplomats from its embassy in Delhi within a week amid an ongoing diplomatic dispute related to Canadian allegations of India's potential involvement in the assassination of a Sikh separatist leader.
캐나다에서 일어난 시크교 분리주의 지도자 암살 사건에 캐나다 정부가 인도의 연루 가능성을 제기하면서 빚어진 양국 외교 마찰이 지금도 계속되는 가운데 인도 정부가 자국 내 주재하고 있는 캐나다 외교관 41명에 대해 일주일 내로 철수할 것을 요구했습니다. Alright, so to recall diplomats basically means go home,
Yep.
leave the country.
Yep, you must leave.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that's what's happening in India right now.
Yep.
What's going on?
Well, this is kind of, relations between Canada and India have really deteriorated since Prime Minister Justin Trudeau last month said there were credible allegations that Indian government agents were involved in the assassination of a Sikh separatist leader in British Columbia in June in Canada. For him to say this, the government they must believe in this evidence to go ahead and say this. So, it's not good.
India is saying no.
No, they're not happy with this,
No,
with this
absolutely.
whatsoever. They called Canada a safe haven for terrorists. So, things are not good. It hasn't been a good couple of weeks for the Trudeau government in Canada after they publicly embarrassed the country by saluting a Nazi in Parliament.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and then this. So to make any kind of huge public dispute with a country like India, I'm no fan of Trudeau, but they must have some evidence of this. And there is footage and there is connections of the NDP leader Jagmeet Singh meeting with this Sikh separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And Jagmeet Singh, he's the leader of the party that props up the Liberal government. So without Jagmeet Singh's support, Trudeau would not be able to govern. The Liberals would collapse. The government would collapse.
Linked together like a big sort of spider web in a way.
Yeah.
자, 이 Sikh separatist leader라고 하는 시크교 분리주의 지도자가 암살된 이후 다른 사람도 아니고 캐나다의 총리 저스틴 트루도 총리가 나서서 이 암살의 배후에는 인도 정부가 관련이 있는 것이 그렇다라는 여러 가지 증거가 있다라는 얘기를 함으로 인해서 지금 캐나다와 인도의 사이가 상당히 악화가 됐다라는 겁니다. We don't know exactly what proof or what credible evidence they have.
No, they haven't made any of that public. Probably because it could compromise the investigation.
I see.
The U.S. government, they've been urging India to cooperate with the Canadian investigation. Biden also did mention this murder as well earlier in the summer. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with this. But it's certainly not a good situation. India's canceled all visas for Canadians into India, and we can see that it's been a tit for tat with expulsions of diplomats over the last couple of weeks.
서로 약간의 이게 보복성의 행보가 보이는군요. Tit for tat.
And there are a lot of Indians in Canada. There's a lot of Sikhs and a lot of Hindus. So the worry is that this could cause maybe some flare-ups in disputes or even violence within these communities in Canada.
아직 조사는 진행 중이라고 합니다. 그런데 어쨌든 이런 좀 강력한 발언들이 나왔기 때문에 인도 정부 측에서 외교부 측에서 움직임을 보이고 있는 것이죠. 이미 캐나다 국적의 사람들이 인도에 입국을 할 수 없다고 합니다. 여러 가지로 지금 외교적인 마찰이 보여지는데요. 자, 표현 보겠습니다. Diplomatic dispute.
Right. So if we hear anything with diplomatic, then you know it's relationship between countries, between governments of countries. So ongoing dispute, it means that the Indian government, the Canadian government are their quarrel is continuing. I guess we can say.
Normally, when you say someone is diplomatic, they're quite neutral.
Right.
But a diplomatic dispute is doing the
A
opposite.
disagreement between governments.
네, 외교적인 마찰이나 분쟁이 되겠고요. Potential involvement.
It's potential, so it means it's possible. They they're not saying for sure, but it's possible. So potential involvement means that and as Trudeau said, that agents of the government played a possible role in this. They
그래요.
possibly played a role.
Possibly, potentially.
Yes. Not for sure, not certain yet.
100%는 아니지만 그 가능성이 높다라는 얘기로 potential, involvement는 연루됐다라는 뜻이죠. 그래서 지금 인도 정부의 연루 가능성이 언급된 겁니다. All right, here it is one more time. India has informed Canada that it must recall 41 diplomats from its embassy in Delhi within a week amid an ongoing diplomatic dispute related to Canadian allegations of India's potential involvement in the assassination of a Sikh separatist leader.
The Smithsonian National Zoo in the U.S. is set to send its beloved giant pandas back to China in early December after decades of friendly panda diplomacy between Washington and Beijing.
수십 년 동안 이어진 미국과 중국 간의 우호적인 판다 외교가 마무리되면서 미국 스미소니언 국립동물원에서 인기 높은 자이언트 판다들이 올해 12월 초에 중국으로 돌아가게 됩니다. All right, so this panda diplomacy is coming to an end around December?
Yeah, unfortunately, right? They will have to send those pandas back to China, and you know, in Korea will be sending Pubao back to China shortly as well too, because the leasing agreement is coming to an end.
Right.
I want to go and see Pubao before she goes back. Yeah, it's really far from where I live though. That's the only problem. But I really want to see Pubao. I watch all the videos.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right, well, tell us how many pandas we're talking about in America.
In this case, we're talking about 3 pandas from the zoo in Smithsonian Zoo is in Washington D.C. There are some pandas still. There will still be some pandas in Atlanta, but they're going back soon as well.
Oh,
so there
I see.
won't be any. Shortly, there won't be any pandas in the U.S.
Now, this panda diplomacy takes us back several decades. It was Nixon, I think, initially who accepted
The first
gift.
one from the when China turned communist, but there are like I was reading that, you know, it goes back even as far as the 7th century.
Oh,
Chinese, you know, China was doing this, sending pandas to other countries as a way of strengthening bonds with them. But in the modern era, yes, like it started in 1941 up until 1984 when they would actually give them as gifts. And Nixon was the first U.S. president to go to the People's Republic of China when it became communist. And his wife really liked the pandas, and then they gave it as a gift. So since 1972, this is there's been pandas in the U.S. Wow. Then it turned into, after 1984, it turned into leasing agreements.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Pubao has to go back. They have to go back before they're 4 years old so they can breed.
Ah, I see. All right, let's look at the expressions here. Be set to do something.
Everything is all planned. Everything is set. Everything's all planned. You're going to do something. You just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe the date hasn't come yet. Like, oh, I'm set to leave for my trip on Friday. I'm all ready, but it's not Friday yet. So that's why I can say I'm set to do it.
뭐뭐 할 예정이 되어 있다. Be set to do something. And your example sentence is?
The label is set to unveil its winter collection this week.
아, 옷 얘기하는 거죠. 이 브랜드가 이번 주에 윈터 컬렉션, 겨울 라인업을 공개할 예정이다. 자, 그리고 panda diplomacy, we talked about that quite a lot. 판다 외교, 이렇게 표현을 합니다. Well, here's the headline one more time. The Smithsonian National Zoo in the U.S. is set to send its beloved giant pandas back to China in early December, after decades of friendly panda diplomacy between Washington and Beijing.